Hare Krishna. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhatta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhatta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhatta Vrinda. We continue reading from Caitanya Caritamrita. We are on Adi-Lila, chapter 7. Text 105, we are still hearing the pastime between Lord Chaitanya and the Varanasi sannyasis. Tumhara prabhave sabara anandita mana kabu asangata nahe tumhara vachana. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Dear Sir, by your influence our minds are greatly satisfied, and we believe that your words will never be unreasonable. Therefore, you may speak on the Vedanta Sutra. So the sannyasis, those very same sannyasis who were first ridiculing Lord Chaitanya that you're just chanting and dancing, not studying. After Lord Chaitanya spoke to them the glories of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and they got the realization that this is Narayana himself. We are just fake Narayans. We are pretending Narayan to be Narayan. We are imitating. We are pretenders. Here is the real Narayan. They've gotten this realization. And so now they are saying, kindly speak the Vedanta Sutra to us. And what you speak, we believe. We believe that you will speak the truth, not unreasonable. Your words will never be unreasonable. Means they have gotten that faith that what the Lord is speaking is true. It's not false. In this verse, the words Tomara Prabhave, your influence are very important. Unless one is spiritually advanced, he cannot influence an audience. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung, Shuddha Bhakta Charana Renu Bhajana Anukur. Unless one associates with a pure devotee, he cannot be influenced to understand devotional service. So we want bhakti. How will we get bhakti? From the bhakta. Only the bhakta can give us bhakti. That is how. There is no, we don't need any qualification to get bhakti. No qualification is required. But the only thing is that we need to associate with a bhakta to be able to get the bhakti. So this, the pure devotee. When we associate with pure devotee, then we can understand what is devotional service. These Mayavadi sannyasis were fortunate enough to meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of a devotee. And certainly they were greatly influenced by the Lord. So the Mayavadi sannyasis, they are understanding, oh, this is the Lord himself. You know, this is Lord Chaitanya. He's Krishna himself, but he's come in the form of a devotee. A highly realized person, they knew that since a perfectly advanced spiritualist never says anything false, all his words are reasonable and agree with the Vedic version. A highly realized person never says anything that has no meaning. So when a person is spiritually advanced, first of all, he will understand that the Vedic version is the correct version. Whatever the Vedas speak is the truth. And the Vedas are always reasonable. And he also understands, and a spiritually advanced person will speak his words based on the Vedic knowledge, not something which does not have any substance to it. Mayavadi philosophers claim to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this has no meaning. You know, I say I'm God. What meaning does it have? I'm just a mad, stupid person saying I'm God. Does it really make me God? I may pretend also. I may believe I am God also. But it does not make it the truth. So what I'm speaking is just nonsense, right? It has no value. It has no meaning to it. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never uttered such nonsense. The Mayavadi sannyasis were convinced about his personality, and therefore they wanted to hear the purport of Vedanta philosophy from him. That is a very high thing, because the Mayavadi sannyasis, they are only studying the Vedanta. And so now they are asking Lord Chaitanya, you kindly speak the Vedanta to us. We'll begin to see how much we can read. Prabhu kahe Vedanta Sutra Ishvara Vachana Vyas Rupe Kaila Yaha Shri Narayana. The Lord said, Vedanta philosophy consists of words spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan in the form of Vyasadeva. The Vedanta Sutra, which consists of the aphorisms revealing the method of understanding Vedic knowledge, is the concise form of all Vedic knowledge. It begins with the words Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time to inquire about the absolute truth. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time to inquire about the absolute truth. So the Vedanta Sutra, it begins with this aphorism that the human form of life is especially meant for this purpose. And therefore, the Vedanta Sutra very concisely explains the human mission. Bhagavatam says if one does not even begin this inquiry, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, he's not a human being. If we don't begin to inquire in the absolute truth, means we are not human beings. Bhagavatam is telling that. So Vedanta Sutra is beginning with this aphorism. Now that I've gotten this human form of life, let me inquire into the absolute truth. So this is confirmed by the words of the Vayu and Skanda Puran, which define a sutra as follows. So the Vayu Puran and the Skanda Puran, it's speaking of this. Alpaksharam asan digdham saravat vishvato mukham astobam anavadyam cha sutram sutra vido viduhu. A sutra is a compilation of aphorisms that expresses the essence of all knowledge in a minimum of words. So, like how we have poetry, how the author, when he writes poetry, he speaks, he does not write essays. In short, he's trying to explain what he wants to say in very short, concise way. That is how the sutra is. That is the meaning of a sutra. That it is in a very short way, and which can be expanded and expanded and expanded. It must be universally applicable and faultless in its linguistic presentation. Universally applicable and faultless, without any fault. Anyone familiar with such sutras must be aware of the Vedanta Sutra, which is well known among scholars by following additional names. 1. Brahma Sutra. 2. Shariraka. 3. Vyasa Sutra. 4. Badarayana Sutra. 5. Uttara Mimamsa. And 6. Vedanta Darshana. So Vedanta Sutra, because Srila Vyasadeva, he is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. He's an incarnation of Krishna, and he took up the work of recording the Vedas. Before Kali Yuga, the Vedas were just heard and people remembered it. But he knew that Kali Yuga is coming and people like us, we can't remember much. Our memories are very short. So he recorded all the Vedas. Then, after he recorded it, he divided it into 4. First was original Veda, but he divided it into 4 for our easy understanding. Then he divided it, he wrote the Puranas, Upanishads. Then he also wrote the Vedanta Sutra, because the Vedas are very huge, very, very voluminous. So he wrote it in the sutra form, shorter form. Then he gave a natural commentary on the Vedas. That is the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why the Bhagavatam is called the cream of the essence of all Vedas. So now there are 4 chapters, adhyayas, in the Vedanta Sutra, and there are 4 divisions, padas, in each chapter. Therefore, the Vedanta Sutra may be referred to as Shodasha Pad, or 16 divisions of aphorisms. So it is in short form that Srila Vyasadeva has written. So now many people misunderstand it. It's easy to misunderstand, no? Poetry. So we have to ask the author, what do you mean by saying this? We have to ask the author, what do you mean when you have written this thing? To have the correct understanding. What happens is many people, they comment their own commentary on the Vedanta Sutra without asking Vyasadeva, what are you saying? Without referring to Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is Srila Vyasadev's natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So that's how it's so easy to misinterpret the Vedanta Sutra. The theme of each and every division is fully described in terms of 5 different subject matters, adhikaranas, which are technically called pratigya, hetu, udharana, upanayana, and nigamana. Every theme must necessarily be explained with reference to pratigya, or a solemn declaration of the purpose of the treatise. The solemn declaration given in the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra is Athato Brahma Jigyasa, which indicates that this book was written with the solemn declaration to inquire about the absolute truth. So Vedanta Sutra begins Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now that we have a human life, let's begin our inquiry into the absolute truth. Similarly, reasons must be expressed. Hetu, examples must be given in terms of various facts. Udharan, the theme must gradually be brought nearer for understanding. Upanaya, and finally, it must be supported by authoritative quotations from Vedic Shastras. Nigamana. So here Prabhupada is giving us an example that Srila Vyasadeva, he's written the Vedanta Sutra, and so the Vedanta Sutra has to speak about the absolute truth because it begins with the aphorism that now that we have a human life, let's begin into the inquiry of the absolute truth. So he's trying to give us this good foundation that actually what the Vedanta Sutra is speaking about. So this is a long purport. We'll stop here for today and we'll continue with it tomorrow.
I have a question. You just said that Bhakta only can give bhakti. Means what?
How can we get bhakti? From where can we get bhakti?
By hearing and chanting. No, that was the discussion yesterday.
Yeah, so you're hearing somebody is speaking, so then you get bhakti like that. The bhakta is speaking, Prabhupada is speaking, so we get bhakti. Or somebody gives us a book, somebody gives us prasad. That is the beginning of the bhakti. You know, if suppose the devotees were not distributing books, they were not giving us prasad, they were not going Harinam Sankirtan, we will not know about Krishna. We will not begin to engage in bhakti. That's how. Bhakti comes from bhakti. So because they are giving this, then we can begin our devotional service. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.